Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show today. So, if you're watching this live and you like what we're going over here on YouTube, then make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. So that way you get notified every time that we go live. And if you're listening to this at a place like our podcast, well, if you're happy with what you're hearing on the podcast so far, make sure you leave us a quick review just to give us your feedback. We appreciate that. Okay, so today we're going to be diving in. We're going to be decoding crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a great way to get money for a business because it works when a lot of other funding options just don't work. It's a great way to get money, even when you can't get money from the big banks or other sources. But it's also a great way to get a lot of money, even if you can get money from other lending sources. So my name's Ty Crandall. I'm CEO here at Credit Suite, and we'll be diving in today, going through a lot of information about exactly how crowdfunding works. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to reach out to us, 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487. You can also visit our website at creditsuite.com. And at the bottom of our slides, we have a link to creditsuite.com/get funding. And that's just a quick link you can go to actually access all different kinds of capital for your business. So if there's any questions we can help you answer, feel free to check out our website, send us an email, or give us a ring. So getting working capital to grow your business doesn't have to be hard. And a lot of people, I think, mess this up because they go to their bank when they need money, whereas banks aren't where most capital is coming from nowadays. And a lot of sources are now turning to crowdfunding, especially because of Kickstarter. You know, Kickstarter has put out some major campaigns, put a lot of money, I think hundreds of millions now, into the space to help businesses grow. And they've got a lot of publicity along the way, Indiegogo and some others as well, but especially Kickstarter. So a lot of these options are going to work for startup ventures, which is why they're so appealing. You know, startups have a tough time getting capital because the majority of business failure takes place within the first 5 years of a business being open. So that's why a lot of lenders make it hard to lend in the space for startups. But this is a great option for existing businesses, but especially for startups as well, where there's a lot of details when it comes to business financing, crowdfunding, things that you should know. And this is what we're really going to be decoding today, is what this is, how it works, the platforms, the fees they charge, all the things that you'd want to know if you're interested in getting crowdfunding. So first of all, Kickstarter is probably the most well-known platform out there and a great one to start with. But with any of these platforms, you have to read the small print because, again, a lot of them will give the money back to the donors, for example, if you don't meet their requirements. So they call this fixed versus flexible financing. And if you've got the fixed financing option, then what happens is if you have a project you're trying to raise 10 grand for and you only raise 9,900, well, then they'll give the money all back to those donors. So this is why one of the first things you need to know about these is you've got to read the small print, because if the difference between fixed and flexible funding means that they'll have to give all the money back to the donors if you don't meet your goal, which means two things. First of all, you need to set a reasonable goal, which we'll talk about a little bit later as we dive in. And the second thing is that you need to know the difference between fixed and flexible funding, because if you go with fixed funding through Kickstarter, for example, and you don't meet the goal, you got to give all the money back, even if you were $100 short of your goal. But with flexible funding through Indiegogo, for example, then you have an option of getting paid, paying them a little bit more, even if you don't reach your actual goal. So crowdfunding platforms do take a percentage of the donations. That's how they basically work. They give you a platform to put a project up to get donors, and they make it create a simple way to do that. And then they ultimately charge a percentage of the donations as the primary way of them getting fees. So ultimately, basically, that you've got to pay them for the project and the money that you raise. And then as we dive in, they'll even charge smaller fees per person that's actually, or per contribution to the actual campaign. Now, you also are going to have to deliver on your promises because, of course, they have to cover their reputation. So if you're rolling out a product and saying, look, anybody that puts in a $100 order already pre-orders the product, well, then you have to deliver that product to those people that pre-ordered. You can't just take the money and cut and run. There's all kinds of things that crowdfunding platforms, even states, are doing to make sure that you do this. So you'll have to actually manufacture a product in some cases, or do anything else you're supposed to be doing. And the manufacturing of a product is the best example. If you say, look, this campaign is to manufacture electronic birdhouses, whatever electronic birdhouses are, then you have to tell people, if you're telling people everybody that puts in an order gets one, you have to then produce that product and actually deliver it as you say that you're going to do. Okay. Because you have to also understand donors can get weary of crowdfunding pitches. So you're going to have to do some things along the way here to build this credibility and then deliver as you say you're going to deliver, to make sure that you keep that credibility. So which ones do the best in crowdfunding? Well, straightforward businesses don't do that well. What are straightforward businesses? Businesses that basically sell just typical products and services that anybody can get. So for example, if you're a real estate investor trying to get crowdfunding so you can invest in real estate, probably isn't going to work. But again, if you design a software that's specifically for real estate investors that nobody's seen, that's the kind of rare product that will do well. So crowdfunding tends to work best when donors can personally connect with a product or service. Okay. It also means that products are not quite on the shelves yet, or artistic endeavors, things that are creative, things that are unique, things that aren't out there yet. One of my favorite ones is this thing that goes at the top of the stairs, and then it's like a box, but then it folds out into a slide. So it turns anybody's stairs into a slide. And I remember seeing that years ago, and it still stuck with me because I thought that's the coolest thing ever. Because I think a lot of us as kids went downstairs on just about everything from pillows to sleds. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's different. It's unique. It's not something you see. It's rare. Okay. So standard things are just not going to attract these brand ambassadors. And let's be honest, for crowdfunding to work, that's what it comes down to. Don't think that you're going to get a campaign with Kickstarter and then it's going to go viral and all these crazy things are going to happen. The only way you have any chance of virality, of something really going viral, attracting all kinds of outside donors, Indiegogo, Kickstarter promoting it, is if you put something out there that people are like, that's awesome. And then you create brand ambassadors like I just did, right? I just told you about this awesome one I saw that turns a stairs into a slide. Well, when I saw that, I shared that with all my friends on social media. Even though I had no connection to the campaign, I connected with that personally. That was something that was cool to me. And so I shared it with my family and friends. And that's what makes these things go viral, is creating brand ambassadors like that love it, that can connect with it, that share it. So again, standard type of widgets aren't what's going to get somebody fired up. It's something cool. It's something unique. So there's things you're going to have to decide. The first thing you have to decide is how much you're going to ask for. And again, this has to be carefully considered, because with some platforms, if you don't meet the goal, you can't even access the money. And then again, you don't want to actually try to get less money than what you actually need. Okay. You're also going to need to decide what perks you'll give for what donor levels, meaning that, typically in a lot of crowdfunding platforms, it's not just that you put something up and people give you all kinds of money. Usually there are perks, or what are called incentives, to incentivize somebody to actually donate. And again, one of the perks could be if you are contributing $100, then you are pre-ordering and you get the actual product as soon as it's produced. Okay, there's all different kinds of perks and incentives that you can actually give. Whether you're likely to succeed in being funded, this determines if you want regular or flexible funding. And again, that's what you need to figure out. If you want the flexible funding, you can get your money if you don't reach the goal. It just costs a little bit more in fees. And if you want the regular fixed funding, you don't get that. So you're going to have to make a decision with whether or not you're going to go with the fixed or whether or not you're going to go with the flexible. Obviously, I think you go with the flexible, even though the fixed charges more in fees. And the length of your campaign. How long are you going to give this campaign to take off? Is it a month? Is it 2 months? Is it a week? You're going to have to decide how long you're going to give people to actually contribute to the campaign as well. So these are just some of the preliminary decisions you're going to have to make when you start a crowdfunding campaign. So you need to evoke emotions in your donor. Okay. So urgency, they need to donate now. So they need to know, look, we got limited time to get the money raised for this. And if we don't raise it, well, then we're not going to be able to deliver on this product. So going back to my example, if I'm the one that's putting a box at the top of the stairs that unfolds into a slide, I'm like, look, we got 30 days to get the 50,000 we need to be able to produce this product. If we don't get to 50 and you like this, we're not going to be able to produce the product. So please make sure that you donate now. Scarcity. They can't get the product or service anywhere else. It's running out. So again, scarcity. Look, this is only available here. We created this. We're getting trademarks. We're getting, we're making sure that we get everything we need to be able to produce this where nobody else is going to have it. You're only going to be able to get it here, because once it actually hits market, the price is going to be 100, 200% higher than what this is. Novelty, your product or service is new, is spin on existing one. This is the uniqueness of it. This is the cool factor of it, really. Well, it's not the cool factor, but it's the uniqueness of it. You can't get this everywhere. This is something that only exists here. So that gives people a reason to buy. And even the cool factor, the fact that this is something cool, it's something unique, it's something shareable. And that's really what you're looking for, is something shareable with crowdfunding. It's just not going to work if, you're starting a credit repair business and there's a million other credit repair businesses out there. It's if you're creating something unique, cool, and different. And that's where people want to share. They want to be part of that. They want to be the brand ambassadors. So you've got to create a pitch video. And a pitch video doesn't have to you don't have to spend thousands of dollars creating a professional video. But I will tell you, you can get professionally produced videos like you see on TV commercials for thousands of dollars, for $2-3 grand. I'm not saying that's not a lot of money. I'm just saying if you're trying to raise $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, we had a client that was trying to get their start off the ground the other day, and they wanted $600,000. Well, if you're going to try to raise $600,000 and use crowdfunding as a way to do it, well, then it probably makes sense for you to get the $2,000 or $3,000 investment to do a professionally produced pitch video. But even if it's not, then at least you want to take the time to do something creative and cool to create a video that explains to people what it is that your campaign or product is about. Be courteous always. Okay. So anybody that donates money, thank them. Every single person that donates. You may have 500 donors. Thank every one of them individually, because one, if your project doesn't work, well, then you may put something else out there in crowdfunding and those people recognize that you showed them appreciation. Or two, maybe your project works and those people become your customers. So no matter what happens, even if people are rude to you, you always want to try to be courteous. And you want to present any tangible evidence of your product or service, anything that proves that it's actually real, so you don't look like you're a fly-by-night, something that proves that you're actually going to produce it. A mock-up, anything that shows that what they're donating is actually really has a good chance of becoming a reality. And then, of course, don't be greedy. Don't ask for far more money than you may need, especially if you're in fixed funding, because you may not even be able to access any of the money unless you reach that goal. So other campaign basics, as we talked about, be gracious even if the campaign fails. Your stretch goals should be a mix of readily attainable and pie in the sky, meaning that if you're going to put the goal out there of getting 50 grand, well, then you should feel pretty comfortable that you're able to raise 42, 45 of that. And maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's not completely pie in the sky. You know that the goal you're putting out there can be reached. You want to line up your most significant and dependable donors before you even start. Here's a misconception about crowdfunding. I think a lot of people think they're going to go put it on a project out on Kickstarter, the thing's going to go viral. But if you look, and I have historically, at the most successful Kickstarter, Indiegogo, crowdfunding campaigns in general, they're from artists, they're from bands, they're from people that already had a big following. And what they did was they went to their following before the project went live. They lined up donors before the project went live. Then when the project went live, that attracted a lot of these that they already had all their dependable donors lined up that jumped in and contributed money. And then others see that, and then it goes viral. So things don't typically go viral on their own, even if you have a good idea. What happens is you line up your most significant and dependable donors before you even start the campaign. You have them ready to contribute money. And here's why. Think of it like Facebook. There's a lot of content that you probably have told Facebook you want to have. You're part of groups and they show group posts. You like pages and all the stuff that those people post. But Facebook only shows you a limited percentage because there's only so much stuff they could put in your newsfeed. So what do they determine needs to be in front of you in your newsfeed? It's very simple. It's based on engagement. If people like and they comment and they're sharing that content, then Facebook shows that to you more often, and they show it to you when they don't show a lot of other content. You've seen this before. You log in your Facebook account and you see a post, and then you log in again and you see that same post again. Why are you seeing it multiple times? Because Facebook knows it's relevant, because there's likes, there's comments, there's engagement. It's the same thing here. When Kickstarter sees that you have a campaign that just went out there and all of a sudden people are participating, they're contributing money, then you ultimately work within Kickstarter's algorithm to get them to show it to more people. And that's how you create virality. You do it. You line up the donors, you get all this engagement contribution, and then they recognize that you have a real project, that it's something big. They start promoting it to more. The more they promote it to, the more contribute. You want to share your campaign on social media a lot. Now, a large part of the success on this is your ability to network it in social channels. It's not just lining up dependable donors, it's lining up dependable sharers, people that are willing to share your content, that you're collaborating with to get out there to their networks. Because again, the more donors you have lined up ahead of time, the more you instantly get it out there and start sharing it to create the virality yourself, the more these platforms recognize that it's worth it being promoted, and the more they promote it to their actual actual platform followers. And then that's what makes it really go viral. So there are the biggest crowdfunding platform campaign or platform is Kickstarter. So they got 14 million backers. That means 14 million people have contributed money on Kickstarter, and over 130,000 funded projects. So they deal with publishing, arts, film, comics, illustration, design, tech, a little bit of everything. And here's why I say this. When I did years ago, I did a long presentation on crowdfunding. And if you go to youtube.com/credit suite, you could see we had all kinds of statistics on the biggest crowdfunding campaigns and all these different types of things. What I realized is there are hundreds of these platforms across the world, and which one you choose really depends on what you sell, what your industry is. You'll find ones that are specific just to the software industry. You'll find some that are specific just to artists, some that are just for musicians. So you got to find the right platform for yourself, and that's going to involve some research, because like I said, there are hundreds of them. So if you're in the software company, well, then you want to type into Google, crowdfunding platform campaign for software, and look at the most popular ones and do some research beyond just the Kickstarter, Indiegogo, because you might have better, if you have a niche product, you might be better with a kind of a niche platform to put that project. Now, you've got to have a prototype already designed with Kickstarter. It can't just be a concept. It can't be for charity, but nonprofits can use Kickstarter, and you can't offer equity in a company as one of your perks with them as well. Prohibited projects and perks include contests and raffles, cures and medicines, credit services, live animals, alcohol, weapons. Alcohol, weapons sounds like all the cool, fun stuff you basically can't do on Kickstarter. But realistically, you can't use any of these things, and this is why you need to read the fine print, because it's not to say that cures and medicines doesn't have a place in crowdfunding. It's just not on Kickstarter. You just maybe need to find another campaign that may actually work for that, if you can. I really don't know if there's a platform that may work for that. So they charge a 5% fee on all funds collected for creators. So you create a project, you get your money, it's $100,000. You have to pay them 5% of that, which is $5,000. And then they basically use Stripe to process the customer's payments. And that will actually apply to processing fees. So they may charge you a fee on the money that's processed through the credit card, and campaigns that don't make it don't pay. So again, if you don't meet your goal, then you don't get your money. You don't have to pay the fee. There's also a 3% or basically 20 cents per pledge fee. So every fee somebody contributes, they're taking 20% on top of their typical 5% fee as well. And pledges under $10 have a discounted micro pledge fee of 5% or 5 cents per pledge. So something else you should know. So Indiegogo has about the second biggest crowdfunding platform that's out there. They have over 9 million backers. You've got to have a project worth $500 or more to get with them. They charge 5%. They charge a 30-cent per credit card fee versus Kickstarter, which is a little bit different. And fees are deducted from the amount raised, not the goal. So again, Indiegogo gives flexible funding. If you don't meet the goal, you don't have to pay. So they're charging you based on the amount you actually raised versus the actual goal. So if you exceed your goal, you will pay more in fees. Okay. So again, you got to look at the fine print with these, because there's a difference between one that you only have to pay what the goal is and ones that you're actually paying on what you actually collect. And they don't take PayPal, just something to know. Now, you cannot exchange your fundraising structure from fixed to flexible. So once you choose one of those, you have to go with it. And again, fixed funding is recommended if you need a minimum amount to make your project. Indiegogo recommends regular communications to donor if you choose fixed funding. Look, the reality is you should regularly communicate with your donors and let them know what's going on anyways, okay? And that's one of the best and smartest things to do. So I've only ever done one of these fundings, one of these campaigns before. It wasn't even crowdfunding, for example. So I used a platform to raise funds for a friend of mine whose house caught on fire. Like, she's a single mom, and it was crazy. Well, what was nice was that she continued to give updates of her progress and what she was buying and how she was getting back on her feet. And so people contributed to donate or continue to donate because they were left in, they were part of the process. They knew what was going on. It's different than what crowdfunding is, but I'm giving that example because, again, you've got a loyal group of people that are contributing money, of contributors. Now you want to keep them informed of the process. And in doing so, that's what's going to help it become viral, them share more, et cetera, et cetera. So Fundable allows equity campaigns, another kind of crowdfunding platform. They charge $179 a month to raise. Fees on rewards are 3.5% or 30 cents per transaction, and they do not charge success fees based on the success of the actual platform. Crowdfunder treats its campaigns as deals and its donors as investors. Basic listings are about $500 a month. Self-starter listings are about a little bit more than that, about $50 more. And Self-starter Plus, which you can look into them to see their different levels, is about $9.99 a month. Now, again, because the reality is I can go on and on. There are hundreds of these platforms, too many for us to discuss here in about 30, 35 minutes. So this is why you want to look into it. I just wanted to give you an idea of the different ones, some of the basic ones that are out there, and what they actually specialize in. So perks are a must for a lot of campaigns. Consider how much complexity you think you can handle. Again, what kind of incentives are you going to give somebody to contributing? And you want to, there's 5 levels of perks is a lot. So you might not want to say, look, if you contribute $5, I give you this, and $10 this, and $30 this, and 50 and 100. You maybe just want to say, look, if you're contributing $50, you get this, $100, you get this, over 500, you get this. So a few levels of perks that if they contribute X, they get Y, probably makes sense. So virtual perks are easier than physical ones. What does that mean? It means anything you could deliver virtually, like through an email, is going to be much better than something you have to physically mail. So for example, I have a couple books out there. So if I was going to say, look, anybody that contributes gets my book, well, then it would be easier for me to say a digital copy of my book, and then I could just email it to them, versus a physical copy where every time I'd have to send a physical book to somebody that contributes. That's a perfect example. So virtually something that's real easy, electronic delivery, and physical something you have to mail. And it's obviously could be a nightmare if you mail it, especially if you have hundreds of people actually contributing. So manners matter. So thank everybody. As I said, be gracious. If you're on a budget, put your money into your campaign video, as we mentioned. Again, you know, the campaign video is what sells this. And the campaign video shouldn't be all about you and the product. It should be about what it does and how it changes other people. Or think about it, make it personal to them, the people watching it, and how it could affect them. Okay, so if I'm doing, again, a video to show the box that transforms into a slide, well, then I'm showing my kids going down the stairs, you know, doing things. I'm connecting with people on a personal level. So again, that campaign video is where a lot of your success is rather than your perks. So just offer fewer perks and more money into the video. So laws and crowdfunding. Your perks might be considered sales under the UCC. So this has not been litigated yet. This means your perks might be subject to warranties like merchantability. What does that mean? It means that, for example, they may consider it to be a product. and you may have to deliver on guarantees and all different types of things if they consider it to be an actual product. So you've got to be careful. Perks that are virtual, again, the electronic delivery, they're easier for you to deliver, and you don't have to worry about some of this regulation that could affect you if you're physically delivering perks. So if you misuse your funding, you may end up in an unpleasant meeting with your state's attorney general, okay? Because again, they don't mess around with this. If you go and say, I'm trying to get $50,000 to make this product, and then you raise the 50 and you never produce the product, man, that's a lot of trouble you can get into. You have to be careful because, again, you're bringing in the state's attorney general at that point. If that's what you're doing, there's a real risk. What's going to happen in that case is those 200 donors go back to Kickstarter and say, hey, this guy raised 50. He told me if I hit this level, I would go ahead and get that product. And the product never came. They never delivered. And then Kickstarter investigates and everybody had the same issue. Well, now Kickstarter is handling hundreds of complaints and they're just going to move it right up to a state's attorney general or somewhere else. So you could definitely face repercussions there because of misrepresentation, possibly even considered to be fraud. Okay. So again, in 2014, as an example, the Washington State Attorney General's office brought suit against a 2012 Kickstarter campaign that never delivered a unique deck of playing cards. The campaign didn't deliver the product or the perks, and they were sued under the consumer protection law. So again, guys, they don't mess around with this. Don't think you could just use this as a way to wildly get money if you're not going to do what you're supposed to do, because in this case, they won that lawsuit. And again, they ended up paying many times more than the money they actually raised. So kind of in a recap, crowdfunding has nuances which help your campaign succeed. Not every product or service is going to work. It's got to be unique, different. Give donors a feeling they must donate. You got to create that urgency. You want to have that cool factor, that uniqueness. Multiple perk levels. Don't have 3, 4, or 4, 5, 6 different kind of perk levels. 3 perk levels. You come in, you donate this much, you get this kind of reward is going to work. And don't be greedy or break your promises to your backers. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't ask for a bunch more than you know you're going to do. Also, some other tips that I don't have here in the summary. Make sure you research to find the right platform. Make sure you think about how much money you're really going to need. Maybe raise 10% or so above that amount of money. Know the difference between fixed and flexible, and go with flexible if you can. So if you don't raise the money, you can still get access to the money, even if you don't meet the goal. And pay attention to what these charge. The fees are different for all these platforms. So you need to make sure that you know how much money you're going to be charged. So look, again, if this provides value to you, then please like, subscribe our channel here on YouTube, send us a quick review on our podcast here on iTunes. And also don't forget, if you look at this image on the top right of our website is our Facebook links, YouTube links. Find us, go to creditsuite.com, check out our social media links, like and subscribe. We go live on Facebook every single week with even a Q&A where you can get questions answered in real time. And we're live on YouTube every single week as well. And we've got a podcast so you can listen on the go, and tips on Instagram and Twitter. So make sure you check us out there. And if you have any questions on crowdfunding or other different ways to get financing, then make sure you get in touch with us. 877-600-2487, 877-600-2487, or info@creditsuite.com. And again, there's a ton of free information on getting business credit and many different ways to get financing on our website as well, creditsuite.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.